You came on my radar when you were discussing ʻOumuamua. Is that how I
Yes,
say it?
that's the right.
ʻOumuamua, which is an object that we detected in space that you believe could possibly have been extraterrestrial in origin, meaning from some sort of a civilization.
Right.
Yeah. Please explain to people what ʻOumuamua is, why it's so extraordinary, and why you think it's possible that it came from some other intelligent civilization.
Right. So I'm a scientist, and I basically follow the evidence, just like Sherlock Holmes, trying to find solutions. It's a detective story. You have the comets come to us from the periphery of the solar system, and astronomers said, okay, other stars may have them as well, and since they are loosely bound, if they are in the periphery, they can be easily ripped apart from their host star, and some of them will fly in our direction. We will see them. So they said Oumuamua is probably a comet. The only problem is there wasn't any cometary tail. So you look for a duck, but it doesn't look like a duck. So then the question is, what is it? And so people said, okay, it's just a rock without any ice on it. Then the problem was that it exhibited an extra push away from the sun. And usually you get it from the rocket effect. That when you make the cometary tail, it pushes the object in the opposite direction, just like a jet plane. A jet plane works by throwing gas out, and that's pushing you forward. So a comet has an extra push when it evaporates. But there was no cometary tail, so why did it show an extra push? That was the key question in my mind, at which point I started thinking, maybe it's not a comet and not an asteroid, something else, And the other strange thing about it, it changes its brightness by a factor of 10 or more, and the brightness of the object, the light that we see, is simply reflected sunlight. So just think about it. Think about a piece of paper, razor-thin piece of paper, tumbling in the wind, and changing the area that we can see, the projected area of that piece of paper, by a factor of 10 as we look at it. That's exactly what we inferred from this object, spinning around every 8 hours, but changing its brightness by a factor of 10, meaning that the area projected on the sky that we see, that reflects sunlight, changed by a factor of 10. So that means it has an extreme geometry. Most likely flat, if you try to interpret the light that it reflected over as it was tumbling around. And so a flat object, about the size of a football field, that has an extra push. If it were a comet, it needed to lose about 1/10 of its weight. So a lot of evaporation. You can't just say, oh, it's a little bit of evaporation, and therefore that's why we don't see it. It should have lost 1/10 of its weight. If we go on a diet and lose 1/10 of our weight, that's a big chunk of mass, right? So this object didn't lose that because we didn't see it. And the Spitzer Space Telescope looked very deeply behind it to see if there are any traces of dust or gas. Didn't see anything. So then, just like Sherlock Holmes, I was trying to think together with a postdoc of mine, Shmuel Bialy, what could explain it? And the only thing that came to mind is reflecting sunlight. So the object itself is being pushed by the sunlight reflecting off its surface. And that would agree with everything we know about the object, but in order for it to work, the object needs to be very thin, like a sail, the sail on a boat. So a sail is pushed by a wind, but you can also push an object, a thin object, by light, and that is called the light sail. And we're actually using this technology now, developing it for space exploration. The big advantage is you don't need to carry the fuel with the spacecraft. You just reflect light off it, and it's being pushed.
There was a science fiction movie that did something like that. I think it was called Sunlight.
Quite possibly. I should mention an anecdote. In September, just a few months ago, in September 2020, there was another object that showed an extra push, no cometary tail. And then astronomers gave it a name 2020 SO, okay, September 2020. And then they extrapolated back in time and found that it came from Earth, actually. And then they looked at the history books and saw that indeed there was a rocket booster from a lunar lander that was kicked into space. And this is the object. Now, why did it show this push? Because it's a very thin structure. So here is an example where we can tell it's artificial. And we know that we made it. But ʻOumuamua could not have been made by us because it was passing near us just for a few months, very quickly, faster than any rocket that we can launch. That's why we couldn't really chase it when it was receding away from us. And it came from outside the solar system. So, I just do 1 + 1 = 2. I say, okay, it looks very peculiar. Maybe it belongs to another civilization.
A very strange statement by a Harvard professor. He claims there could be as many as 4 quintillion alien spacecraft flying near our Earth. It's Professor Avi Loeb, and he believes we may have a high-resolution image of a UFO within 2 years. Let's remember, this is the same professor who claimed that the interstellar comet ʻOumuamua could have been some kind of a scout spaceship. Now, Harvey Loeb, professor of Harvard, well known for having claimed the first interstellar space rock, observed in our solar system was in fact an alien spacecraft, or the remnants of one at least. The space rock dubbed ʻOumuamua was the focus of intense debate after it was first observed October 2017, with Professor Loeb spearheading a small camp of astronomers who believed it may have been a machine crafted by an intelligent alien civilization. Now, in a new study that has yet to be peer-reviewed, Loeb and co-author Carson Ezell, also a Harvard astronomer, set out to predict how many other similar objects to ʻOumuamua might be out there. They claim to be the mind-blowing conclusion. They came to the conclusion that there could be as many as 4 quintillion in our solar system. That's 18 zeros from what I've counted. Now, how do Loeb and Ezell define ʻOumuamua-like objects? It's important to note that Loeb and Ezell are not claiming there are 4 quintillion alien spacecraft flying near our Earth. Loeb did not categorically claim ʻOumuamua was a spacecraft. Instead, he stated that we should be open to the possibility that there could be. What Loeb and Ezell did calculate is an estimate for the number of possible alien spacecraft and other artificial objects flying in our region of the Milky Way galaxy. The title of the 2 scientist study is The Inferred Abundance of Interstellar Objects of Technological Origin. Yes, technological origin, meaning some intelligent being has constructed them. So in their paper, they wrote that one can use recent rates of detection of interstellar objects and known capabilities to estimate the density of similar objects in the solar neighborhood. So they based their calculations on the 4 interstellar objects that have so far been observed. These are ʻOumuamua, 2 interstellar meteors called CNEOs 214-0108 and CNEOs 217-0309, and the interstellar comet Borisov. The 2 Harvard scientists also factored in our limited capacity for observing the far reaches of our solar system, of course. We can't see that far. And based on their calculations, Loeb and Ezell actually came up with 2 numbers. The first calculation estimated the number of interstellar objects that are likely flying around our solar system to be out of view of our instruments. And then they estimate that there are a mind-blowing 40 decillion of these objects. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 to 3, 330 zeros. Now, the smaller but still bonkers figure of 4 quintillion refers to the number of those objects that could be flying towards the habitable zone of our solar system nearer our sun, meaning astronomers have a greater chance of observing those objects. Loeb and Ezell do not do note that the sizes of these objects will vary drastically, with a majorly likely measurement no more than 3 feet across. Now, could we discover intelligent alien life in the near future? For a number of years now, Loeb has been advocating for open-mindedness in the scientific community when it comes to UFOs and space alien theories. He stated that he believes UFO sightings should be investigated with the same scientific rigor as any other space-related phenomena. Loeb recently actually weighed in on a study regarding UFO sightings over Ukraine, stating that that study was full of errors and that the sightings were likely more easily explained than the study suggested. Last year, the Harvard professor founded the Galileo Project. It aims to build a global network of telescopes and cameras with the aim of capturing a high-definition image of a UFO. Loeb recently claimed we could see such things within 2 years.